Okay, so moving on, we have the third game, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal, which is a nice little cheeky title there. Now this is the third game I had ever played in this series, but is the first one I had ever finished on my initial original playthrough. Aside from that, I really don't have too much more to say in this introduction, so let's just jump into things. Well, I guess I do have one extra thing to say, and that would be how I'm changing out my scripting style for this one. So yeah. That's the setup. Ratchet and Clank are just kinda hanging out when suddenly they get a message about Ratchet's home planet being under attack. Determined to save, well, his home, Ratchet and Clank make their way back to Veldin and help save the day. It turns out that these aliens attacking Veldin were being led by a villain known as Dr. Nefarious, and these galactic rangers are trying to fight back. The Rangers enlist Ratchet into their cause where he sets out to look for Quark, since Nefarious had been bested by the ex-hero so many years ago. Cause yeah, trusting Quark at this point is a good idea. But hey, Ratchet does it and succeeds. Back in action, Quark sets up a party of, heroes he calls the Q-Force. You know what? I kinda like this setup. It's nice to be back in the galaxy of the first game. It's cool seeing the return of characters like Skid and Helga, and overall the story is well focused, easy to follow, and even has a nice ending to it that felt pretty fulfilling for me. Sure, it's a shame we didn't get to meet very many new characters, but hey, Sasha's pretty neat and likable. Plus Nefarious can be an entertaining villain, with much of his humor coming from his butler. I do really like Nefarious's design, and all the expressive animations they gave him. So yeah, overall, I enjoy the story, with its little adventure. It's not as satirically funny as the previous two, or as interesting, honestly, to me, but it is still at least fun, which takes us to the gameplay. Now, Up Your Arsenal isn't too different from the previous games. It's an action platformer that has levels that focus more on some minor platforming combined with gunplay. Levels this time are much more linear. By this, I mean very few of them have more than one pathway to explore, which is a bit disappointing, but the main gameplay is still pretty entertaining thanks to some nice controls and levels being well laid out. To be fair, there is some exploration to do in certain levels that reward you with titanium bolts that can be used to unlock secrets and extras, and trophies of characters that are just fun to collect. I really enjoy getting them. There are also just some really cool levels to play on, like one that takes place in an underwater lab, this small spherical asteroid-like planet, and a little TV set. While some levels aren't quite as well detailed as previous games, I still like the environments and managed to get pulled into the game's universe. Anyway, those minor RPG elements return, such as Ratchet's health increasing as he gains experience, and weapons upgrading the more enemies they kill. Though now weapons can go up to level 5, which is interesting. Speaking of weapons, I actually love a lot of the more unique weapons in this game, such as the Infector, Spitting Hydra, and Rift Inducer. These are all fun weapons to use, and are also useful, so there's a plus. Something else that I realized when replaying the game was a lack of slight puzzle challenges. The closest we get is this hacking minigame, which, despite how hard it can get, I very much love playing it. So basically, we get less interesting gadgets this time. Though I do love the Hypershot, it's so great. There are a few moments where you'll play as Clank, who once again gets these small robots who will follow him. But on top of that, he also gets a monkey. The monkey is mostly there to step on buttons and act as a distraction for dangerous robots, so it's all good. These are some decent moments that were enjoyable enough and were never all that challenging. This time around, you kinda have a hub area in the form of the Phoenix, this large ship the Galactic Ranger Zone. You can customize your ship, even though you can't really use it in space battles, so A weapon vendor, where you can even test weapons before you use them, which is awesome. And an armor vendor. I do like going to the bridge to listen to the Q-Force talk to each other. Helps make them stand out more, and it's a nice touch. Plus, this is a good area we can beat on that monkey some more. You can also take a look at the trophies you found in Ratchet's area, and play vidcomics. Yep, from time to time you will earn vidcomics that you can play to progress the story. These vidcomics are some of my favorite parts of the game, as they're all these 2D platforming sections, and they are actually a lot of fun, and can offer a decent challenge later on. Quark controls nicely, and there's a great sense of impact when he punches enemies. The boss fights in these sections aren't too bad, and I enjoy trying to collect all those cork tokens. Some planets will offer you extra stuff to do in the game, like the sewers where you can harvest crystals to make some extra bolts. It's best to do this when you have the gravity boots, and it's alright. Then we have Annihilation Nation, which is the best, as not only can you take on extra bosses or fight off waves of enemies with special challenges, there are also obstacle courses to do. I freaking love these courses as they offer some fun platforming challenges. You know, I just really like platforming. Lastly, we have these mission moments. During these segments, you're restricted to an area and have to complete these missions before moving on to the next. These will involve things like taking out enemies, protecting an area, kinda, and repairing turrets. I find these moments only okay. Sure, you can get some good bolts from them and upgrade your weapons, but they really halt the pace of the game for me, and if you can skip them, I tend to do just that. At the very least, I can appreciate the developers trying to make use of the multiplayer maps in the single player game. I just don't enjoy them that much. Oh yeah, and there's a multiplayer section in this game that, even when playing with a friend, isn't all that great. I found it to be boring, as it's just some basic base occupying, King of the Hill, and deathmatch fare on some decent maps. Maybe the multiplayer was more fun online when that was around, but I personally can't say for certain. At least the music is nice and has a fitting sci-fi feel to it. Like, here, take a listen for yourself. This game also has some secrets to keep an eye out for, like skill points return. You can change Ratchet's skin so you can play the game as a snowman, and there's another hidden Insomniac museum worth visiting. Oh yeah, and there's even these new crates that can turn Ratchet into a fiery dual Ratchet wielding beast temporarily, and it happens so few times, I forgot about it. This game is also surprisingly short, taking about 6 hours to beat, and is much easier than the other two. Well, okay, there's one bullshit level that sucks and has these really annoying, awful robot enemies. Thran asteroid belt, but aside from that, it's a pretty smooth journey throughout. And hey, once you beat the game, there's always the return of New Game Plus, where once again you can play through the whole game with all your kept weapons and bolts and armor. It's just now enemies will be stronger, and you can further upgrade your weapons. So do I enjoy Ratchet & Clank 3 Up Your Arsenal? Yeah, I do. I still had a fun time replaying the game. It has some fun levels, really cool weapons to use, and the story and characters have a nice charm to them. Well, see you all next time with another Ratchet game. I hope you enjoyed this video and didn't mind my change in the layout for this one, and I think I might stick with it since it felt much more natural and kind of fun to write. Anyway, see you all later.